When the two approached a group of white folks, the black guy strikes a pose like a model. What a show-off. Feeling out of place like an alien, Chris turned back to her room, and right when she climbed the stairs, the chatty kiss suddenly fell silent, staring at the upstairs like a pack of leopards eyeing their prey. Chris returned to her room only to find her charging phone had been unplugged. She suspected the maid was out to get her, but Rosie advised her not to overthink it. After all the strange things Chris could only vent to her best buddy, Chris told Rod about being hypnotized by Susan, and the cop instantly went into high alert mode. Rod mentioned cases of black folks being hypnotized into becoming white people's funky toys, but Chris rolled her eyes at it. However, just after hanging, a maid from next door suddenly waltzed in, apologizing for accidentally knocking over the phone while cleaning. Chris was completely taken aback and thought to himself, "This is getting weirder by the minute." The maid suddenly started to sob, like she had multiple personalities, laughing and crying at the same time, then chatting away to herself. What a chatterbox. Chris found the bizarre behavior chilling and decided to steer clear of the maid and head back to the party. As she stepped out, she met the black guy again. Chris secretly took out her phone to snap her photo. However, she forgot to turn off the flash, and when it blared, the guy talking away froze in shock and then screamed, rushing toward her like a bull. "Take me. Take me." Luckily, Rose's parents were doctors, and after Susan's hypnosis, the guy calmed down pretty quickly. Old Dean explained it was just a flash triggering an epilepsy fit, causing the guy to act like a wild beast. After that chaos, Chris didn't want to stay at the party any longer and left with Rosie for a lakeside walk, only to find that as soon as they left, a silent auction started behind the scenes, led by old Dean, as the guests rushed to raise their bidding paddles, not for items, of course. Instead, it was Chris, the special item, and a blind tycoon soon won her. Meanwhile, Chris was blissfully unaware, wrapped up with her girlfriend until night fell and they returned to a house empty of partygoers. Yet everyone stood waiting at the door for her return, with Rose's family sporting out smiles. Clueless Chris had no idea of the lurking danger, but as soon as she entered her room, she promptly sent the pic of the rich guy to Rod, who immediately called her back. Rod told Chris that the guy in the photo was Andre, who went missing weeks ago, and they had played soccer together. That revelation jolted Chris awake. She remembered her dad was at the party with some 30-year-old white chick. Harassment alert. OMG. Just then, her phone went dead again. Chris sensed danger looming. Obviously, there was a major trap waiting for her. She urged her girlfriend to pack their bags and get out. But while scrambling to gather their things, a shiny cupboard caught her eye, and she cautiously approached it. Upon opening, she found it full of photos, all shockingly of Rosie with other black men. Clearly, she was not Rose's first black boyfriend. Chris felt a chill run down her spine when she realized Rosie was already standing at the door. Chris had to fake calmness and ask Rosie for the car keys, but Rosie couldn't find them, no matter how hard she looked. Not caring about that, Chris dashed downstairs, only to find little Dean waiting with the crowbar in hand. Rose's parents, who were once warm and welcoming, were now cold, as Chris couldn't control her emotions any longer. At that moment, Rosie revealed her true self, and Chris could only fight her way out. But thanks to last night's hypnotism, all she heard was the sound of a coffee cup clinking, and she dropped like a marionette cut loose. She fell back into the abyss, waking up tied to a sofa in the basement, desperately trying to escape. But the TV flickered to life, showing none other than Rose's grandpa. Turns out, Rose's grandpa had been working hard after always losing to black folks. He developed an evil brain-swapping surgery. This surgery allowed him to transplant white brains into black bodies, thus gaining mental control over them. Rosie and the others were all part of this dark chain. Rosie lured healthy black guys with her charm. Susan took care of the hypnosis, while old Dean played surgeon in this twisted game. Turns out, the friends at the party were just spies picking hosts. Chris was utterly terrified. The TV showed the coffee cup stirring again, and Chris passed out, while Rosie flickered a quick message on screen. Seeing this, her war buddy Rod called her again. but the one who picked up was Rosie, who spun a tale that Chris had left after a spat. But super skeptical Rod didn't buy it and quickly connected his phone to the computer for evidence. Little did he anticipate the cunning Rosie would turn the tables on him precisely when Chris was regaining consciousness once more. The TV flickered on again, this time featuring the blind buyer. Turns out, the buyers who pay top dollar need to chat with their intended host to boost the surgery's success rate.